Hey everyone, you're listening to Everything with Easton, and I'm your host, Easton Cook. It is Friday, it is the weekend, and what better way to enter into the weekend than by looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, I'm not afraid. You know, fear controls way too much of our lives, doesn't it? I mean, it controls our actions. It can be the reason that we sleep with a TV on at night so we don't have to hear the house settle or any kind of weird creaks that might freak us out. Maybe you just watch The Ring and all you can picture is that creepy girl crawling toward you. So the light and the light from the TV and the background noise really helps you get past that scary thought. And let me tell you, I hate scary movies. I hate them. And yet I've seen a decent amount, and I don't know why, like The Conjuring or Insidious or Mama. Disgusting. I hate it so much. It's terrifying. Mama's the reason that I almost can't sleep on my back. There's a scene where this girl's laying in bed and Mama, this demonic spirit, comes out from under the bed and like right onto this woman. And I swear it's going to happen to me one day. So it's terrifying. It can be the reason that we don't go for a job that we've always wanted, right? The fear of rejection. Maybe in the interview, it doesn't go too well, or they don't choose you and you feel like you were rejected because of it. Or maybe you have an incredible idea that you're sharing with people and no one's really understanding it and they kind of shut it down, or they don't really support it and you feel like you don't have that community. And this gives you the fear that maybe you don't have a lot to offer. It can be the reason that we slap a piece of cloth on our face and call it protection and stay away from other human beings. Don't catch the Rona. You got to cling to life. Fear has so much control over our lives, and it's really quite amazing that we don't really notice it a lot of the time. We associate fear with being like an encounter with a person or a thing. You see a bear, you're fearful. You know there's a feeling there. So that's fear. But fear actually controls more of our lives than most of us would like to admit. I'm going to tell you my greatest physical fear, and it's absolutely true. And if you know me, you know how bad it is. I mean, it's awful. And it's a stupid fear. But I am afraid of taxidermy animals. I'm talking the deer heads on the wall, the stuffed bears, the stuff, basically any animal that's bigger than me. I'm scared of it. Hell on earth for me is Bass Pro Shops. I hate that place. I'm walking around with like my head down because I can't look at them. Just for range real quick, if there's a deer head like right here, like behind me, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm just pointing behind me on the wall, then I would be terrified. I'd have to like get away from it. If it was like across the room, I wouldn't be as afraid. Like I would see it and I'd probably have my eye on it for a long time, but they petrify me. They scare me. I'm trying to get past that. Now, oddly enough, if it was alive, I wouldn't be as afraid. I don't know what the deal is there, but everyone has their weird quirks, right? And in 2022, most people are afraid of speaking their mind and standing up for what they believe in because someone might get offended. They could lose their job. They could lose friends, follows. I mean, it goes from not that serious to very, very serious. You know, God says, do not fear 365 times in the Bible. And yet fear dictates most of our actions. I'm not sure how that happened. I like to think that God chose 365 times to say it, to remind us every single day of the year. Right? Like God was like, hey, look, I know you're human and you scare easily. So let me remind you, I'm with you. I've got you. Do not fear. We were created to love God, to work, and to live this life to the fullest in spite of fear. Fear is going to be there. We're human. We were not created to be fearful creatures and cower at the sight of danger every turn. God has created so much, and he wants us to go see it, right? Go experience it, go explore, celebrate in each day that we wake up, not be fearful of the possibilities. There's an old saying that says, take time and stop and smell the roses, right? Go lay in the grass, go do nothing for a second. Go travel and just be a part of the world for a second and just see what God has created. And I suggest go do that. Go see what's out there. Don't be afraid of the possibilities. Don't be one of these people that lives vicariously through everyone else who's traveling and whatnot. Go experience the world. God is telling us that we should also have common sense. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm pretty sure that's why he gave it to us. It's not about just not being afraid of anything. So you go skydiving without a parachute because, well, I'm not afraid, right? I might survive. I might bounce off a couple of, I don't know, balloons, right? Like in a cartoon. No, not like that, because you're gonna fall and die. Don't pick a fight that is completely unnecessary with someone because who knows, you might win, right? They're bigger than you, but who cares? You might win and you're not afraid. You get the picture. Be your authentic self. Stand up for what you believe, but do it with bravery. And being brave doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It just means that even though you're afraid, you do it anyway. You keep pushing on with those goals, those dreams, that action, whatever that is. And there's a story that I love in the Bible that really symbolizes this in a great way. And it's the story of a guy named Daniel. Now, Daniel was an official for King Darius. And not only was he an official, he was actually a distinguished official. King Darius loved Daniel. He was like, wow, this guy is great, and he's above the other officials. Now, these other officials got very jealous of this. And they're like, Daniel doesn't even belong here. So they got together and they talked. They're like, hey, maybe we can kill him. Well, no, we can't kill him because the king will surely find out who did it. The king loves this guy. Let's see here. Maybe we can find something morally wrong. Has he cheated? Has he lied? Has he done something that maybe we can take him down for, like for his character? No, can't do that. He's good. He's a good man. Well, we can't do anything there. So they thought, well, the one thing that he will not give up is his God. And Daniel had a different God than these officials. So they thought, okay, well, let's make a law. Let's convince the king to make a law that bans Daniel from talking or praying to his God. So they go to the king and like, hey, King Darius, look, you're great. You're awesome. You're the best king in the world. And because of that, how about for 30 days, we just recognize that. No one in the land should be able to pray to their God or even ask their rulers any questions or celebrate their rulers in any way, shape, or form. What if we just celebrate you? That's it. And King Darius thought about it. He said, yeah, sounds good. Let's do that. So King Darius signed it in the law, and there was no going back on this law. That was it. And so the officials go and they watch Daniel. And while they're watching Daniel, they see that Daniel, knowing the law at that point, goes up into his tower. He's got a window open facing Jerusalem. He gets on his knees and he begins praying as he did 3 times a day, morning, evening, and night. The officials see it and they run to King Darius and they're like, hey, King, hey, didn't you sign a law saying that for 30 days no one prays to their God or makes any kind of request to rulers? And the king said yes. They're like, okay, hey, that official Daniel, we just saw him praying. So what did you say the punishment was? Oh, lion's den? Yep. So let's go ahead and let's get that moving. And the king, knowing that there was no going back on the law, it really troubled him because he didn't want to kill Daniel. Not at all. He loved Daniel. And so the king couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. And then the next morning, he sent for Daniel. Daniel knew what was coming. He knew that the punishment was lion's den. And he continued to do it anyway. And so the king brought Daniel in. They take him down to the lion's den pit. And they cast him in. And then they roll a stone over the entrance. And they go back. And that night, the king, again, cannot eat, cannot sleep. He's bothered in his spirit that he had to do this. And as soon as day broke, the king got his men together and they ran down to the lion's den. And when they got there, they rolled away the stone and he called out, Daniel, hey, did your God save you? Did it work? And Daniel called back up, hey, I'm good. The angel, God sent an angel to close the mouths of the lions. I've just been chilling down here. And hey, no ill will toward you. Can I come out? The king said, yes, come out, please come out. And Daniel went up, and the king was furious with the officials, and he threw them in the lion's den. And before they even got to where the lions were, the lions came up and devoured them. And the king, of course, sent word saying to all the land that Daniel's God is the true God. And the story is actually a little more gruesome than that, and I'll leave a reference in the description below so you can check it out. And I'll let you read that for yourself. But what this story never mentions is Daniel's fear. It had to have been there, right? Daniel put that aside and continued to do what he believed to be right, praying to God, his routine 3 times a day. Even when he heard the new law, like I said, he knew what the punishment was. It's not like he didn't know and he was like, maybe I'll just get fined and maybe the king will just kind of decide something last minute. It didn't work like that. The punishment was lion's den. That's it. And so Daniel knew what was coming. And it's not like he had an insurance policy. It's not like God went to him and God said, hey, by the way, keep praying to me. If you get thrown in the lion's den, don't worry, I got you, okay? I'll close those pretty kitties up. You won't even have to worry about it. No, he didn't know that. As far as Daniel understood, if he continued to pray, he was dead, and that was it. But Daniel did it anyway. He stood up for what he believed, and fear had to have been present. I mean, I'll be honest, if it was me and I was like, all right, here we go, I'm going to pray, and then I know for sure that they're going to come get me and they're going to throw me in the lion's den, I would have my pants. I would have been terrified, but in spite of fear, Even in spite of the fear, Daniel did not stop. So what is stopping you? What are you afraid of? And I mean the unhealthy type of fear, right? Because there are good fears out there. That's why God allows this. There's a good fear. For example, are you a parent? Is there a reason that when your child plays outside, you stand outside and watch them, make sure that they don't leave the yard and accidentally go into the street? Because there could be a tragic car accident. There's a fear of that. It's terrifying to think of. Are you afraid of snakes? That's probably a good thing. If you're out hiking and you don't know what kind of snakes there are, or even if you do, it doesn't matter. It's probably a good idea not to pick one up. Okay? It's a healthy fear. It's when fear takes over our lives and keeps us petrified, and we stay in this metaphorical room where you're comfortable and you're on the couch and you have a TV and the door's wide open. But the fear of what's on the outside, what if it's worse than what you're experiencing? That kind of fear is the unhealthy fear. It takes over our lives. And I hate having to come back to COVID, but I come back to COVID over and over on this podcast. It's just what's happening in the world right now, so I have to mention it. But because most people have had COVID by now, right? There's still, I shouldn't say because most people have COVID, even though most people have had COVID by now. And some have died from it. Don't get me wrong, that all tragedies. I say from COVID because the CDC director literally just came out recently and made a distinction with died with COVID or died from COVID, and way more have died with COVID instead of from COVID. So the facts have been kind of distorted and a little confusing. But we still wear a mask, right? Even though, like I was saying, even though most people have had COVID by now, especially Omicron, people still wear a mask and they arbitrarily stand 6 feet apart. And a portion of us don't even go to social gatherings or family get-togethers because COVID could be present. I see this as an unhealthy fear. It keeps us from living our lives, being with family, being with friends. And maybe that's just my view. But God created you to be brave, even when fear is present. That stupid phrase, YOLO, you only live once. No, you live every day. You only die once. So don't let the fear of living stop you from living. I mean, like truly living. Why waste a moment living in fear? Go out and truly explore and be part of what God has created. And if you haven't really thought about it before, then take a moment and just think about where you're at. And if fear is the reason that you're still there. You might be surprised what you find out when you truly reflect on this. And whether you believe in the story of Daniel or not, the message remains, Daniel made the choice to trust in God no matter what, even if it meant death. And he still did it anyway. He simply chose bravery over fear. He chose to live what he truly believed was right and do that over being afraid of the possibility of death. And I encourage you to do the same thing. This weekend, right, this day, figure it out. Look in the mirror and say, what am I afraid of? Are you happy where you're at? If so, great. If you're not, is it fear that's keeping you there? Is it fear that's keeping you from speaking your mind because you're afraid of what might be said about you, right? Or what might be done because of your fear? Whatever it is, I just encourage you to choose bravery. I'm working on the same thing. Any of my podcast episodes where I pull any messages like this out, I promise I'm working on the same thing. I'm trying to get past that taxidermy fear. It's so stupid. I need to get past it. So I encourage you, whatever that fear is, let's crush it and continue living life to the fullest. And that's all for today, y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is on YouTube. Make sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed it. I really appreciate that. Helps out with everything here. And I will talk to y'all again Monday. I do have another job, so I have to possibly start shortening these to maybe just Monday and Wednesday or Monday and Friday. I'm not sure yet. I'll probably put a poll on my Instagram, so make sure and follow me there as well on Easton Explorers Instagram, at Easton Explorers. And I'll talk to y'all Monday. God bless.